She was found collapsed on the bathroom floor. But what happened before that moment is the part no one has ever been able to explain. Long before the headlines screamed her name and long before Hollywood packaged her tragedy into a simple story of illness and bad luck, Brittany Murphy had whispered to friends that something inside her home felt wrong. Something she couldn't name. Something she couldn't escape. In her final months, Brittany lived surrounded by strange warnings, sudden changes, and an atmosphere so unsettling that even those closest to her admitted they had never seen her so frightened. It was as though she sensed a storm approaching, a storm she knew she wouldn't survive. Yet behind the bright smile and warm laugh the world adored, she kept moving forward, convincing herself that the darkness surrounding her was temporary, not real, not dangerous. Hollywood had loved her because she wasn't like everyone else. She was soft, luminous, unpredictable. A star who didn't fit the mold but made the mold bend around her. From her breakout roles to the aching vulnerability she brought to every character, audiences felt connected to her in a way that made her death feel personal. But the public only ever saw one half of the picture. The other half was hidden behind closed doors, wrapped in secrecy, fear, and a relationship that raised more questions than answers. A girl too gentle for Hollywood. Before her life unraveled into one of Hollywood's most disturbing mysteries, Brittany Murphy grew up in a world far gentler than the one she would eventually confront. Born in Atlanta and raised in New Jersey by a single mother who fiercely believed in her talent, she entered the entertainment industry with an enthusiasm that made her glow. There was nothing glamorous about her beginnings. No famous mentors, no inside connections. What she brought with her was sincerity, vulnerability, and a natural spark that directors immediately recognized. Hollywood in the late 90s was a kingdom of extremes. Newcomers either rose like fireworks or faded without notice. Brittany's rise came fast. Her wide-eyed innocence and emotional range captivated audiences. But even as success arrived, the industry around her was shifting. Tabloids were becoming more ruthless, paparazzi more aggressive, and online gossip was growing into a cultural force. Privacy was evaporating. For someone as sensitive as Brittany, the scrutiny cut deeper than most realized. Rumors grew, some exaggerated, some invented, and soon they seeped into casting rooms. Hollywood had always punished actresses who didn't fit its preferred categories. Brittany didn't fit anything. She wasn't polished or controlled. She was emotional, authentic, unpredictable, and the industry didn't know how to handle that. Yet she held on to joy where she could, in friendships, in the intense work she loved, in the laughter she brought to sets. But as the years passed, something in Hollywood hardened, and something inside Brittany hardened in response. Roles became fewer. Whispered judgments intensified. The same press that once adored her began printing stories that were cruel, mocking, invasive. The star once labeled promising was suddenly labeled unstable. She felt the shift, and it haunted her. The meeting that changed everything. Everything changed when she met Simon Monjack. Their relationship was sudden, overwhelming, and confusing to nearly everyone in her life. Friends were stunned by the speed of it. Industry insiders whispered. And the Brittany who emerged after their marriage seemed, overnight, like a different person entirely. It was as if she had built a protective shell around herself, one made of fear and devotion. Hollywood insiders murmured that she was no longer the one making decisions. Friends found it harder to reach her. Directors weren't sure whether they'd be dealing with Brittany the actress or the mysterious presence, Simon, who hovered constantly behind her. When the pair moved into a house high in the Hollywood Hills, the descent began. The home had previously been owned by Britney Spears during one of the most chaotic periods of her life. Neighbors thought it felt cursed. Visitors described the interior as suffocating, the air strangely heavy, the atmosphere unsettling. Superstition or not, its reputation was already dark before Brittany arrived. Soon after she moved in, strange incidents followed. She began getting sick more often: chronic congestion, fatigue, dizziness. She appeared thin, frail, breathless. She brushed off the concerns, claiming allergies, laughing nervously in interviews and giving answers that felt rehearsed. Even her mother, once her fiercest protector, seemed strangely quiet. And as Brittany withdrew from the world, the shadows behind her grew deeper. A career shaped by light and shadows. In her prime, Brittany was electric. Directors said they didn't need to shape her, only unleash her. In Clueless, she became the beating heart of the film. In Girl Interrupted, she delivered a performance so powerful that critics insisted she possessed something extraordinary. In 8 Mile, she matched Eminem's intensity, demonstrating a depth that promised a long, unique career. But Hollywood is fickle. Rumors started eating away at her momentum. Claims she was fragile, unpredictable, late, or difficult spread through the industry. At the same time, she faced relentless pressure about her appearance. Producers fixated on her weight. Tabloids obsessed over her body. One incident on set, where a producer criticized her size, left Brittany devastated. Crew members later described it as a moment that visibly broke something inside her. Her laugh grew quieter. Her openness faded. And into that fragile space stepped Simon Monjack. Their whirlwind marriage only fueled Hollywood's doubts. Simon began appearing at interviews, press events, even on sets, hovering, watching, speaking for her. It unsettled people. Directors hesitated to hire her. Roles vanished. And each lost opportunity seemed to pull her deeper into dependence. Behind the gate of their Hollywood Hills home, tension simmered. Visitors described damp, metallic air. Some reported late-night arguments. Others sensed fear. Even Brittany's relationship with her mother shifted in ways friends didn't understand. Brittany was disappearing before anyone realized it. The final descent. In the final weeks of her life, the line between coincidence and warning blurred. Her health collapsed rapidly. Constant coughing, difficulty breathing, unexplained weight loss, grayish skin, shivering even in warm rooms. She was rejected from a project in Puerto Rico after appearing too ill to work. Humiliation that devastated her. She returned home in tears, telling friends she felt poisoned by something she couldn't name. She told people the house felt wrong, that the walls felt like they were watching her. Despite her worsening symptoms, the two people closest to her, her mother and Simon, never brought her to a hospital. They claimed to treat her with prescriptions, vitamins, and herbal teas. But Brittany only deteriorated. On December 20, 2009, she collapsed in the bathroom. The official cause of death would later read pneumonia, anemia, and a combination of medications. But those findings raised more questions than answers. Her anemia was so severe that medical examiners wondered how she had been standing at all. Her lungs were so infected it appeared she had been struggling for weeks. And the medications in her system, none fatal individually, could have overwhelmed her already failing body. Paramedics described the home as freezing cold, despite it being winter in Los Angeles. Industrial-style fans were running throughout the house for reasons never fully explained. Some believed they were drying out moisture from serious mold problems previously reported. Others suspected they were masking odors. And then came the twist that made everything more chilling. 5 months later, Simon Monjack died in the same house, from the same causes, pneumonia and anemia. The mirror image death sparked immediate speculation. Investigators described the circumstances as highly unusual. Theories emerged. Toxic mold, environmental poisoning, toxins, neglect, psychological control, something darker. No explanation ever settled the case. Unanswered questions. The more people looked at the details, the more the story refused to make sense. Why did Brittany become so isolated? Why was she afraid to leave her house? Why was she never taken to a hospital? Why did her mother's statements contradict each other repeatedly? Why did her husband die from the exact same causes? Why did the house have such a long history of bad energy, illness, and fear? No one had answers. Hollywood didn't want them. Studios distanced themselves. Commentators moved on. The public was told it was simply a tragic accident. But those who knew Brittany never accepted that. They remembered the girl with the open heart, the infectious laugh, the boundless enthusiasm. They remembered someone who dreamed of having a family and escaping Hollywood, someone who deserved far more than the ending she received. Beyond the mystery, the warning. What makes Brittany Murphy's story haunting is not just the mystery. It's the silence that followed. Hollywood, the same industry that devoured every detail of her life while she was alive, seemed strangely eager to close the book once she died. But her story remains a warning. A warning about isolation. A warning about control. A warning about homes that erode health and spirits. A warning about how quickly a life can unravel when cries for help go unanswered. Pneumonia is treatable. Anemia is treatable. Exhaustion is treatable. Even mold exposure, if that was a factor, is survivable. But Brittany did not receive the care she needed. Whether the truth behind her death lies in environmental toxins, untreated illness, psychological manipulation, or something far more complicated, one thing is certain. Brittany Murphy deserved better than the silence she was left with. Her story is more than a mystery. It's a tragedy shaped by loneliness, fear, and a system that failed her. A legacy of light. When we look back at Brittany now, we remember the brilliance she brought to her work, the unforgettable roles, the heartfelt performances, the glowing sincerity that made her beloved far beyond Hollywood. She was a light that flickered in ways we didn't understand until it was gone. Time has passed, but the questions remain. Maybe they always will. Not every mystery is meant to be solved. But Brittany's story matters. Not because of how she died, but because of how she lived. With honesty, tenderness, talent, and a spirit too gentle for the storm that eventually consumed her. Some stories are never revealed, but now at least they are remembered.